Now at 11 on Spectrum News on ABC 45. The first blast of winter weather brought snow to the Triad, but also nightmares for drivers. Dozens of accidents reported on slick roads. The latest on conditions and the updated forecast for the weekend. And an increase on the homeowner's insurance rate may be looming. Who it may hit the hardest if the proposed increase goes through. Plus, how to best tackle the opioid crisis was the topic of a forum in Alamance County today. Who was there and what solutions they discussed? Good evening, I'm Kristen Drummond. Rob Wu has the night off. We have more on those stories in just a minute, but first tonight, the weather causing many headaches for drivers in the Triad this evening. Greensboro police telling us since 8 this morning, at least 90 car accidents reported in the city alone and roughly 25 calls of people needing assistance with their cars. This is video taken on I-85 where several cars along the interstate were stuck for some time, definitely creating a hassle for drivers. So let's head over to the Weather Center where our chief meteorologist Jeff Crum is standing by to give us an update on the forecast. And Jeff, how much longer can we expect snow to be coming down in the Triad?
Well, there's a bit of a lull that's going on right now. We've got what we refer to as a dry slot coming in. There's another batch of moisture that will be moving into the Triad in the overnight hours and tomorrow morning. Our temperatures are presently in the lower 30s for the most part, at freezing or just below, the exception Burlington there at 33 in Mount Airy, and North Wilkesboro there at 32. But you get a sense for that drier air that's moving in. South, though, down towards Montgomery County, we've got cold, wet rain continuing over towards Winston-Salem. A bit of a break now, but that's an area that could actually see some substantial snowy accumulations later on. So we're not done with this yet. It'll be later tomorrow morning, tomorrow afternoon. Overnight temperatures expected around 31. I'll have more coming up.
Other parts of the state also seeing their share of accidents, like this one on Sunset Drive in Salisbury this afternoon. The driver, who wasn't hurt, says his car started to slide and he wasn't able to get it under control. The car then went down an embankment and crashed into a tree. Back in the Triad, take a look at this video from High Point. A school bus traveling on Kivett Drive overturning at Rock Valley Road and taking out a power pole, bringing power lines down on it. The driver was taken to the hospital. No word on their condition. No students were on board at the time of the accident caused by slick roads. Well, now we're returning to the Greensboro, where our Spectrum News reporter Nana Bonsu has more on how it's looking on the roads. And Nana, it looks like it's been wet. At least snow isn't appearing to stick on the streets. It seems to have tempered out a bit.
Kristen, the snow is slowly slowing down, at least compared to earlier this morning. But let me go ahead and show you something over here. It looks like it's mixed in with rain, creating this form of slush. It looks slushy and it can also be dangerous. Greensboro police are saying if you do not need to be on the roads, please stay at home. Since this morning, they've had almost 100 accidents. So please be careful. Meteorologists say if this slush does turn into ice and freeze, it could be very, very dangerous, especially on those secondary roads. So be careful when you're going home. Speaking of homes, Greensboro city leaders are doing everything they can to make sure that homeless people have somewhere to stay in these weather conditions. They have declared a white flag emergency, and all that it means is that shelters that are usually opened up during the day are now opened overnight, giving them a warm place to stay. We're actually outside one of the shelters. Greensboro Urban Ministry is one of the three, along with the YWCA and the Interactive Resource Center. They have opened up their doors to the homeless. They want them to come in, get a bed to sleep on, a hot meal, a shower, and honestly, just somewhere warm to stay in these conditions, especially with the snow.
Are you staying with us tonight?
The Greensboro IRC is now an overnight warming center.
Because of the precipitation and the snow and freezing rain that we're experiencing, we went ahead and called a white flag.
A white flag emergency is when the city, along with community partners, turn homeless shelters into overnight warming shelters during the coldest winter nights.
Temperatures can dip to a dangerous level and can really be conducive to life-threatening situations. If you do not have heat, if you do not have shelter, it can be dangerous.
The IRC, Greensboro Urban Ministry Weaver House, and the YWCA Family Center will open their doors to the homeless, providing them with food and a place to sleep. But these shelters say they need volunteers and donations.
Coffee is a biggie. On these cold nights, folks like to get warm and have a nice cup of coffee. Bottled water is great. Kind of finger foods, snack foods, nabs, chips, cup of noodles, those kinds of things are always appreciated.
Officials say the warming shelters are not just for folks without homes.
These can also be available to folks who may be housed but don't have heat or have an issue like that that is going to put them in danger during this weather.
Now, the white flag emergency is active till Sunday, but leaders say that if it continues to snow or if temperatures drop under 25 degrees, they will add a couple more days. Our meteorologists tell us that the snow will keep coming down into Saturday, maybe early afternoon. So once again, if you do not need to be on the road, stay home and stay in your homes and keep warm. Reporting in Greensboro, Nana Saintio Bonsu, Spectrum News on ABC 45.
Well, Nana, you're showing everyone how to stay warm with that nice big warm coat out there. Well, in Wilkes County, snow began early this morning. People waking up to white lawns and snow-topped cars. One family who owns Church Hardware in North Wilkesboro say this is the busiest time of year for them.
Sleds, shovels, salt, boom. As soon as that snow comes around, it goes quick.
Emergency response crews in Wilkes County had one extra crew out today and will be keeping an eye on the roads just in case conditions take a turn for the worse. The state DOT's Division 7 crews loading up their trucks today as the snow started to fall. As wintry weather moved in, crews filled salt trucks to head out on the interstates. This storm came early on in the season, but the DOT says it already has resources standing by.
Getting the trucks loaded and getting them ready. If there's any last minute repairs that need to be made on the equipment, we'll do that.
Keep in mind, crews salt interstates first, then move to primary and secondary roads. Also, NCDOT Division 9 says it has 380 pieces of equipment ready to go on the roads tonight if needed. They're prepared to salt up to 2,200 miles of road and plow as much as 11,000 miles across Davidson, Davie, Forsyth, Rowan, and Stokes counties. Management brought in their operators and put contractors on standby to head out when conditions warrant it.
We plan to run crews through the night into tomorrow morning until the event subsides. And deal with conditions as they present themselves hour by hour.
As always, with potentially slick road conditions and salt trucks making the rounds, crews ask if you don't have to go out, don't do it. The wanted serial bank robber strikes again. Greensboro police say a man hit the BB&T Bank on College Road this morning. Investigators suspect it's the same man responsible for robberies at PNC Bank on Wednesday and Mechanics and Farmers Bank yesterday. A Crime Stoppers tip helped them identify the man as 46-year-old Carl Taylor. They're now looking for more tips from the public to catch him.
You know, we can't say enough how much we appreciate the assistance that we get from the community, because we definitely need their help. If you know where Mr. Taylor is, then please give us a call, whether he needs help or assistance, that we don't know, but we do need to bring him to justice for these crimes.
Police say since the beginning of the year, they've had 13 bank robberies. 8 of them have been solved. Anyone with information is asked to call Crime Stoppers at 336-373-1000. The grandmother of a 6-year-old wants to send her a Christmas message. Linda Bensky is holding an event Sunday to put together cards and posters for Angel Bird. Investigators say she's the little girl who was found locked in a stairwell closet in this home in September. She was bruised and burned and is now in foster care.
It is hard, and it's more hard thinking what she's thinking about it. Yeah. Why we're not around, why we've not come to see her, why we've not called her.
The girl's father and a friend are both facing child abuse charges. The Thinking of Angel event is Sunday afternoon from 2 to 4 at Randleman Elementary in Randleman. The North Carolina Rate Bureau submitted a proposal to change rates on homeowners insurance. Rates vary among different regions of the state, but the average is an 18.7% increase. Coastal communities would be hit the hardest with an up to 80.5% increase. Now, with rate increase proposals on health insurance, energy, and now homeowners insurance, senior citizens could be among those hurt by this.
You put all that stuff together, people are having a net loss. So the question is who's looking out for older adults?
A public comment meeting on this is scheduled for Tuesday, December 12th from 10 to 4:30 in the afternoon at the Department of Insurance building in Raleigh. For more information, check out this story at SpectrumLocalNews.com. On average, 3 people die a day from opioid overdoses in North Carolina. That's according to the state's Department of Health and Human Services. In Alamance County, community leaders are coming together to collaborate on ways to combat the deadly epidemic. Spectrum News reporter Elena O'Connell has the story.
Sheriff Terry Johnson says opioid overdoses are a serious issue. From January 1st to October 1st, Alamance County had 293 overdose saves and 19 deaths.
We've had one person that has been brought back 6 times from overdose. And you ask yourself, my goodness, you know, if one time should be enough for somebody to learn, but the addiction it overtakes the human body.
From 1999 to 2016, more than 12,000 North Carolinians died from opioid-related overdoses. Emergency room physician James McShane says this epidemic is devastating families and communities.
Not only do we see the tragedy of people coming in who are young and otherwise would be healthy, who are dead or dying, but we also see the families who are dragged in over and over, having to stand next to their loved ones.
McShane, along with dozens of other medical professionals, law enforcement officers, and community leaders, came together Friday to address the growing drug issue.
We need to get to the root causes.
During the forum, Bird and others worked to elevate awareness, educate the community, discuss cause and effect, and brainstorm prevention and treatment options.
We have people that need help, and we have got to figure out, 1, to address those needs, and 2, to address those individuals that are preying upon those victims.
Johnson says he'd like to see harsher prosecution for drug dealers.
I don't like to see people going to prison, but if you know that you're preying up on these individuals, you need to stand ready to take the consequences of the actions.
In Alamance County, Elena O'Connell, Spectrum News.
Opioid forums are being held in counties across the state. The next one is scheduled for February 27th in Durham.
Well, it's our first dance with some winter weather across the Triad. Bit of a lull right now, but you know, there's some more snow in the forecast for the overnight hours. When does it end? We'll give you a look at details coming up.
Did you put up flyers?
Excuse me, how much for this,
Death ray. It's $1 billion.
What?
I'm never going to make enough to cover these early termination fees for satellite. They make you sign a contract, so you got to pay hundreds of dollars just to get out of it. They don't even remove the dish.
Ridiculous.
I'll give you $4.
Put it in the jar.
I would pay twice as much for that. That was me trying to get her into a bidding war.
Termination fees are evil.
Yeah, I can use that.
Spectrum doesn't have them. Satellite TV, bad. Spectrum, good.
5 minutes a night
just doesn't cut it.
That's why Chevrolet Sports Night is on for a full half hour every night on Spectrum News.
Get intense with it.
Get more scores, more highlights, more interviews.
It's just a matter of time.
More coverage of your favorite high school, college, and professional teams. And more time to focus on your local teams. Watch Chevrolet Sports Night, nightly at 10 on Spectrum News. Exclusively on Spectrum. You're watching Spectrum News on ABC 45. Get your Spectrum News anytime. Call today.
A winter wonderland in some areas of the state tonight after we saw snow falling all throughout the day. Chief Meteorologist Jeff Crum joins us for a look at the weather. And Jeff, how much more can we expect through the weekend?
Well, we'll see how this plays out. The high country will have another round of snow late Saturday night, early Sunday. As far as the Triad goes and even up into Wilkes County, this will begin to draw to a close as we roll through the day. Tomorrow morning, maybe early afternoon. There's a bit of a lull in the activity out there right now, but a couple of things to remember. Tonight there will be some problems. Some of these elevated surfaces will probably freeze over. And what may melt tomorrow is going to refreeze Saturday night into early Sunday, and then again Sunday night into early Monday. So black ice could be a real problem for the Monday morning commute across much of the Triad. So extra caution, please. You can see that dry slot, Winston-Salem to Greensboro over towards Alamance County, Burlington zone. Not a whole lot going on south of there, though. A little bit of a wintry mix, cold rain, a little bit of sleet, and then just a cold rain further to the south. We do continue with the winter storm warning for the region. That's in place until later Saturday afternoon. So good indication that this will be a bit of a protracted process. Look at all the reports of snow coming in from across the area. It has been a busy day for the Area National Weather Service offices. And up in the mountains of North Carolina, some areas 4 to 8 inches of snow. One area southwest of Asheville has had 15 inches of snow. Ski resorts will be open this weekend. They would love to see you. There's going to be some good skiing, but if you are headed up to the high country, please just keep in mind, caution on the area roadways. Take your time. Our high today over at PTI looks like we topped out at about 42. So heavy, wet snow through Saturday midday, at least it would appear, and another 2 to 4 inches of accumulation on grassy and elevated surfaces. Patchy ice we've talked about, not only Saturday, but for early Sunday. I think in total, the heavier amounts will be up towards the Virginia line through the immediate Winston-Salem, Greensboro, High Point area, 2 to 4 inches of snow. Hopefully we can avoid a lot of big ticket headaches out there. You've got to use some good sense and practice some safety. There's that next slug of moisture tomorrow morning. As we get into tomorrow afternoon, again, it tapers off. Another boundary coming in. This unlocks the door to some even colder air. So by Sunday morning, you thought it was cold today, you think it's cold tomorrow morning. It's going to be pretty cold as we get into the early part of Sunday morning, even into Sunday afternoon. So we're talking highs mid-30s, the snow ending, 23 Sunday morning, 24 Monday morning, but at least it looks like a relatively dry period, calm period ahead. Kristen.
Well, at least people can go out, maybe sled on the snow. Thanks, Jeff. Well, Wake Forest looks to hand Army their marching orders as the two tangled on the court Friday.
Did you put up flyers?
Excuse me, how much for this,
Death ray. It's $1 billion.
what?
I'm never going to make enough to cover these early termination fees for satellite. They make you sign a contract, so you got to pay hundreds of dollars just to get out of it. They don't even remove the dish.
Ridiculous.
I'll give you $4.
Put it in the jar.
I would pay twice as much for that. That was me trying to get her into a bidding war.
Termination fees are evil.
Yeah, I can use that.
Spectrum doesn't have them. Satellite TV, bad. Spectrum, good.
5 minutes a night
Just doesn't cut it.
That's why Chevrolet Sports Night is on for a full half hour every night on Spectrum News.
Get intense with it.
Get more scores, more highlights, more interviews.
It's just a matter of time.
More coverage of your favorite high school, college, and professional teams. And more time to focus on your local teams. Watch Chevrolet Sports Night, nightly at 10 on Spectrum News. Exclusively on Spectrum. You're watching Spectrum News on ABC 45. Get your Spectrum News anytime. Call today.
Jason Brown joins us now with sports. And Jason, college hoops in full swing. The Demon Deacons seeming to improve with each game, especially with this last one.
Yeah, all you can do is get better with each and every game. It's a long season, so you just want to try and build yourself to the right time, which is March, and the Demon Deacons trying to do just that. One game in our area on the docket in college basketball, Wake Forest hosting Army. After a slow start, the Demon Deacons have won 4 straight, and Danny Manning hoping to extend that streak to 5 at the Black Knights' expense. First half, Wake up 25-17. Brandon Childers penetration, nice acrobatic layup. He had 17 off the bench. And then later check out the ball movement as Wxlv going to find Bryant Crawford. Is going to throw it the alley-oop to Doral Moore. 20 points, 11 rebounds for him. Keyshawn Woods led the way for the Demon Deacons with 22 points. Wake Forest wins this one easily, 109-80 over Army.
I thought in the second half we did a much better job of guarding the three-point line and rebounding the basketball. This is the first time we really rebounded as a team. We gang rebound. We had a bunch of guys go in there and chip in and help out. And then we did a pretty good job of taking care of the basketball and sharing the ball. You know, we had 21 assists on 40 buckets, which is pretty good, and we shot the ball well from the free throw line.
Meanwhile, the Wake Forest football team 3 weeks away from taking on Texas A&M in the Belk Bowl down in Charlotte. This is a Tier 1 bowl, and that was a goal for the Deacs at the beginning of the season. It'll be the first time playing Texas A&M. The Aggies, of course, recently made headlines hiring Jimbo Fisher away as their head coach from Florida State. He won't coach against the Deacs in the bowl game, but Wake says that they're up for the challenge, no matter who's.
I think the opponent is a great opportunity for us. I mean, Texas A&M is it's one of the iconic programs in college football. This is why a guy, Jimbo Fisher leaves Florida State to go to Texas A&M.
To the NBA, the banged-up Charlotte Hornets hosting last-place Chicago. Dwight Howard, the birthday boy, plays beat the clock in the third quarter. He finished with 25 points, 20 rebounds. But alas, it would not be enough. Lauri Markkanen, the rookie, hits this three-pointer near the end of regulation to go up 4. Hornets, though, would tie it with free throws and would go to overtime. That's where Markkanen would be heard from again, another 3. He had 24 to lead the Bulls. They win for just the 4th time this year in overtime, 119-111, 2 of their 4 wins against the Charlotte Hornets. Scores from minor leagues on this Friday. Greensboro Swarm topping the Reno Bighorns, 132-126. Marcus Page, a big night for the Swarm, 32 points, thanks to 8 three-pointers. Charles Cook playing well off the bench. He had 22 points of his own for the Swarm in the victory. And that's your look at sports on this Friday. Stay warm, kids.
All right, we'll definitely be staying warm, and great victory for the Greensboro Swarm. All right, well, don't go away, because after the break,
about 60 reported cases of neurovirus here on the NC State campus, many of them at the Alexander Residence Hall behind me. I'm Spectrum News reporter Ryan Breslin, and coming up, what students affected by the illness are saying.
Did you put up flyers?
Excuse me, how much for this,
Death ray. It's $1 billion.
What?
I'm never going to make enough to cover these early termination fees for satellite. They make you sign a contract, so you got to pay hundreds of dollars just to get out of it. They don't even remove the dish.
Ridiculous.
I'll give you $4.
Put it in the jar.
I would pay twice as much for that. That was me trying to get her into a bidding war.
Termination fees are evil.
Yeah, I can use that.
Spectrum doesn't have them. Satellite TV, bad. Spectrum, good.
5 minutes a night
just doesn't cut it.
That's why Chevrolet Sports Night is on for a full half hour every night on Spectrum News.
Get intense with it.
Get more scores, more highlights, more interviews.
It's just a matter of time.
More coverage of your favorite high school, college, and professional teams. And more time to focus on your local teams. Watch Chevrolet Sports Night, nightly at 10 on Spectrum News. Exclusively on Spectrum. You're watching Spectrum News on ABC 45. Get your Spectrum News anytime. Call today.
about 60 NC State students have reported getting sick with the neurovirus this week on campus. The University Student Health Services confirms students have been experiencing the gastrointestinal illness since Tuesday, with the most affected students living in the same dorm. Spectrum News reporter Ryan Breslin has the story.
I woke up about 1 in the morning incredibly ill, thought I was the only one ill.
Abigail Barton lives in Alexander Hall. She says early Tuesday morning she realized something was wrong. She logged onto the building's group chat to find she